Hey guys, welcome back. First off, let me tell you, I'm having some problems with my voice. I gotta see a doctor about it or something, but if I sound like a kid in middle school, just bear with me for a while. Okay, last Sunday, when our Ford dealership here in Pella, Iowa was closed, my father-in-law and I decided, let's go look at trucks, because he was thinking about being into a new Ford truck. So we said, sure. Okay, I wasn't really prepared because of course I don't own a new car, but I've heard about prices going through the roof with new cars. So we were walking the lot and I ended up looking at a Lincoln. It was either an Aviator or a Navigator. Who cares? They're the same thing to me. So I was looking at it, over $110,000. Man, I don't know about you guys, but I remember when I was reading Car and Driver magazine in the early 2000s, and $110,000 was a pretty top-end Porsche 911. Would I have ever guessed that I would ever see a ticket saying 110 grand at a Ford dealership? Not in my lifetime, I thought. So I was thinking about car prices because people ask me routinely, why are the prices of new cars so expensive? So I did a little bit of thinking. Now, when I explain this, and now remember, this is my opinion, we're going to take away the inflation that we're going through right now. And we're going to get rid of COVID, those two things. Now, inflation really has something to do with it. But I feel there's other aspects to why cars are so expensive. And the people who think cars are expensive are driving 5, 10-year-old cars. New cars. Okay, here we go. Do you remember when you had a car that when you went to change the thermostat for hot or cold or air conditioning, there was a rudimentary knob or there was a slider back and forth? You remember when in your car you had just a CD player in the dash? Maybe you got wild and had one of those CD changers in your trunk. That's not what it is today. Today you have rotary knobs for changing the gear in the transmission. You have huge screens in the dashboard that have the navigation and climate controls and your stereo system. You know, the buttons on new steering wheels look like an arcade game from the 80s. Well, think about it like this, okay? If you went to the store and you bought one apple, could you walk up to the store and buy 10 apples and then be shocked that the price is higher? No. Now, of course, there's labor costs because manufacturers have to pay people to put these cars together, but I think there's more to it. When you have all of these technologies, you know, and Americans want to buy SUVs. I don't understand the concept of SUVs being so popular. I never have, but that's beside the point. When you have people buying SUVs, and then heated seats, cooled seats, 16 airbags, giant navigation screens, DVD players in the back, or I guess Blu-ray or Wi-Fi nowadays. You have giant wheels, you know, all this lighting on the outside of the car that's all LED and, well, what runs all that stuff? The same thing that used to run your dashboard back when you had those rudimentary knobs, when you had the little levers, when you had the CD player. Well, wiring ran that stuff, of course. A wiring loom, which is a row of wires taped together that ran through the dashboard and through the back of your car. Had a dome light. You had maybe 2 lights in the back for people to read. Well, with all the new electronics, you still do have that. You still do have a wiring loom. But how heavy is a wiring loom now to fix all of the issues? Well, you got to have wiring for the heated seats and the cooled seats. Got to have wiring for that navigation, the Wi-Fi, the kids' video games in the back seat, all the dash that lights up, the screens in front of the driver. There's just tons and tons. Dual zone climate controls, all of these things that people want in their cars, but they don't want to pay. They don't want to pay a higher price. What they want is all of the bells and whistles that people have become accustomed to in a vehicle that they want to cost no more than $35,000. And when you really think about it, That's insane. Of course you can't do that. You know, I remember when my dad bought the Volvo in '85, turbo, it was around $15,000. That was a crap ton of money back then. And it was very, very rudimentary. I drive a 2012 Kia Soul, you know, and I bought it for $6,000. It had about 70,000 miles on it, but it's rudimentary. Everything's rudimentary. And as things have gotten more and more and more advanced and people want more and more crazy features, they can't understand that if you go to the grocery store and you pay for one apple, well, you're paying for an apple. That's not very much. But if you want 10 apples or you want a whole bunch more, you're going to pay for a whole bunch more. People, I think, don't understand the concept of how much technology has changed. Case in point, until the mid 90s, upper maybe around 2000, General Motors made an automatic transmission, of course. Everybody had automatic transmissions. Theirs had 4 gears, which was the norm. So if you take all of the clutches and the stuff that it takes to put in the casing of a 4-speed transmission, here's a 4-speed automatic transmission, okay? This is how long it is. Well, nowadays, because people want these 6,000, 7,000 pound vehicles, well, here's some more technological advances. You know, you gotta have a 10-speed automatic transmission just to get any kind of gas mileage. Well, if you take all of that stuff that I'm talking about, airbags and wiring looms and screens and video games, and, you know, you take all of those things, like transmissions that are twice what they used to be, the car weighs more, right? So the car weighs more. You know, that adds to fuel economy. So they have to bring more technology into the car for fuel economy, which adds more weight. So I think people need to realize you can't have your cake and eat it too. Now, of course, there's inflation, and of course, car prices have gone up. But if you listen to stuff like Dodge being bought out, you know, this is another thing that gets me too. When people are talking about new cars, they're like, everything's going south, everything is crazy. I see car prices coming down in the next few years because they're gonna have to come down for manufacturers to make a profit. You know, we used to have that old saying when I was a kid, beater with a heater. Well, that used to be because you could go on Craigslist, go on Facebook Marketplace, you could get yourself a car that was a piece of crap, you know, but it ran for 2 or 3 years, you know, rusty, no air conditioning, but it ran. It was $500. It was a beater with a heater. You had heat, and that's about all you got on those cars. Those days are over. They're over because the prices are so expensive on new cars that, you know, they talk about trucks, like an F-150 Lariat pickup truck, limited edition. It's like $95,000. You know, if my dad and my grandpa were alive to see $95,000 pickups, they'd roll in their graves. But now, that's normal. So what happens is, because that's the new car market, it's affected the used car market. Because a guy with a 2005 Chevrolet S10 that 5 years ago would have been worth $2,500 can get $6,000 for it now. Why? Because the market's so bad that people need older trucks. So I think there's a lot of things that come into play with why cars are so expensive. And until people can realize that you can't have everything and get a good price, it's never really truly going to change. It doesn't matter who's president. It doesn't matter how much we complain. It's just a fact. The more substance in something, of course, the more it's going to cost. So unless people are willing to live without adaptive cruise control and lane assist and all this other stuff, you know, remember the days before lane assist where you just, you know, stayed in your lane when you were driving because weaving into another lane will kill you or somebody else. Now our cars have lane assist, another complicated thing that needed more wiring that added more weight. Your car beeps at you now if you get into the next lane. How crazy is that we can't even stay in our own lane anymore without more electronics? Well, I would hope that in the future, not just Americans, but Europeans, all over the country, people need to realize, you know, we have to stop asking for so much and want to pay so little. The other thing that I've heard about in the last few weeks are people talking about car brands merging together because of the economy. You know, recently people have been like, oh, no way, Hyundai and GM, they're talking, they're collaborating. What's the world coming to? Holy crap. Holy crap, man. Take a break. Catch your breath. It's not that big a deal, okay? In the, Chrysler? Take Chrysler. In the 80s, they teamed up with Mitsubishi to still be relevant. In the 90s, they were teamed up with Mercedes. And in the 2000s, they were teamed up with Fiat. This isn't new for General Motors either. General Motors in the 90s made a bunch of money off of the Geo brand. What was the Geo brand? The Geo Prism was just another rebadged Toyota Corolla because they worked together and had a joint venture, Toyota and GM. The Geo Storm and the Geo Metro, Suzuki products. Okay, the Pontiac Vibe was a remade Toyota Matrix. So car manufacturers working together. I think a lot of YouTubers like to throw out these scary words like "what's happening" or "oh my gosh" or "can you believe this?" It's simple. When you guys see car manufacturers merging together to create something, that's normal. That's been going on forever. Ford got stuff from Mazda. Mazda got stuff from Ford. You know, I think that we need to relax about that. That has nothing to do with the car market and everybody failing. They'd like you to believe that, but it's not. The car prices are high, and there is a problem with that. But the car brands merging together, I think that's normal. Don't listen to other people freaking out about that. You know, that's that same person that's freaking out about the car brands coming together probably had a Geo Prism back in the early 90s, or they know somebody who drove a Geo Metro. So with all of that said, maybe that'll help you to see, at least my opinion, my point of view as to why car prices are what they are. And I do see them coming down in the near future, because in order to stay relevant and still have a business platform, they're going to have to lower prices so that people can pay for them. So hopefully people can say that they don't need so much content in their cars, because the only way that prices can truly go down is if people can live without all of those new electronics. Well, I appreciate you guys. Talk to you later.